Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll take a look at the dollar, the yields, precious metals, and so on. I'll give you my financial opinion, and we'll start with the dollar here. So let's just dive right in. This is the DXY. The DXY still flailing around that support resistance level. That's the monthly. The weekly is also flailing around it. And then the daily, we had a nice little pullback here, but we've got some strength yesterday and today around this support region. We're up 0.91% today, which is actually a pretty big move for the DXY. Is this thing going to be used as support and we get a nice big rally higher, or is it going to fall back down? If we look at it from a long-term perspective, we're right at this resistance support level, and we're basically playing with this level right now. We've got a wick at the top on a monthly, and the monthly is holding on, but we got to see what we're going to do this month. It's too early for me to tell. If we finish strong to the downside, down where the beginning of this wick is, I would assume that we're heading lower based off of the close in the month. If we finish above this support line, then I would say that we are going higher. So we need more data here. I'm not convinced that we're going up or going down. We need to see what the market's going to tell us here. The 10-year yield is remaining very resilient here. We are heading higher again. It's finishing strong. Again, I don't know which direction this thing's going to end up rolling here. I look at it. We've got a nice, good drive off of a bullish engulfing here. We got the big army green candlesticks, small selling pressure, but there's a little more selling pressure up here with this candlestick there. It's still pretty strong, but usually what happens is you get a good drive off the bottom, and then you get kind of this like U-shaped type movements, and then we fall back down if the sellers are there. But overall, big picture view, it still looks really strong for a move higher. So again, dollar, we're at support resistance, 10-year yield, we've broken out, and I think we're going to drift higher. So that's what we've got for the 10-year. TLT, still seeing selling pressure here, heading lower. I still think that bond prices are going to go lower, yields are going to go higher in the medium term here. Short term, it's kind of unknown. I don't know what they want to do. They're trying to manipulate the oil price, and then OPEC's coming in and cutting it. Oil prices, I think, are driving yields, which is inflation, basically. Oil's driving inflation. Inflation drives yields. And I'm a bull in oil. So I think that overall, the 10-year yield's going to go higher. The 30-year yield's going to go higher. And that we're going to be in a prolonged period with increasing interest rates, which is going to put pressure on the overall markets and definitely bond prices. The TYX is also heading higher. We can see that the TNX went up greater than TYX. I'll show you that in the ratio, but this looks good. It looks like it's cruising higher. I think this will continue higher, just like the TNX. And what we're seeing is a greater inverted yield curve. And this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing this still continue to compress lower over time. So the one thing to gather here, if you guys are watching this clip, and that's very important. When you look at this ratio, if it's going down, that usually means that oil is more or less kind of in control. It's inflation that's out there. Oil's usually going higher in that type of environment, and yields are selling off. We get this inverted yield curve. When this curve uninverts, like we had the past few days here, we saw gold and silver really take off. They rocketed higher. And that was also paired with a weaker DXY. These are all kind of interconnected. And right now we're coming back down. We have a stronger dollar. We've got stronger yields. Gold doesn't necessarily like that. It's a headwind. And right now I do think that this is going to continue lower over time, not every single day, because of the inflation that's going to come from energy prices. The CRB index, which also has some oil in it, it does look like we want to just roll over a little bit and breathe before heading higher. So I do think in the short term, we could see a little bit of a pullback. The way that I'm viewing this are these two candles. the opening and closing price is getting closer and closer to each other, which means the buyers are starting to equal the sellers. Usually you see a short-term little dip before heading on up. So we could see a retest here of that breakout and then a move on higher. Gold is actually being very resilient in the face of increasing yields, in the face of an inverted yield curve, and in the face of a stronger dollar. So I actually think this looks bullish here. Whenever you see the large green candlesticks like this one, and then you see a small little pullback like that, that usually resolves itself higher, statistically speaking, from when I've looked at in historical charts. So I'm bullish on gold. I'm bullish on silver. It's got the same setup as gold does. We've also got a very strong long-term support line at $18.15 or whatever it's at. Then we've got platinum, which is also showing some strength here. So we've broken out, kind of pulled back here. I think we're going to go higher in the metals. And again, we'll see what the 10-year yield, if it's a headwind or not. But metals around the world, I think people are running to them. And the demand for metals is increasing with some of these bond markets that are collapsing in like the UK, over in Europe, high CPI numbers like Germany. I think people are going to get afraid. They're going to change that paradigm. They're going to start buying some protection or some insurance known as precious metals. XAU to gold ratio is also signaling strength in some of the mining companies. This usually happens before a move in the metals themselves. So we're getting this nice little breakout here. I think we're going to go higher in this ratio, meaning that the gold and silver mining companies could outperform gold. Gold looks good to go higher. Silver looks good to go higher. Platinum looks good to go higher. I'm a bull. I think this looks really good. And I'm playing it through the physical metals. SILJ is also heading on higher. This looks good. We're getting out of this. Basically, when you look at this, you get a downward move, you get kind of a sideways chopping action, and then you get a move higher. What that is your selling pressure comes to a point, the buyers equal the sellers, and now the buyers are starting to overwhelm the sellers. That's what we're seeing, and I think we're going to see a move on higher. GDX is also exhibiting the same traits. We went into that support area that I talked about earlier. The support area is all of these buyers and sellers in this area that I just put in that box. So that is your support level. We're using it as support. Now we're starting to get a little bit of buying pressure and start to work our way up. We're also seeing the gold and silver miners outperform gold. Everything looks kind of good here, in my opinion. Crude oil also heading a little bit higher today, 1.25% on up. I am seeing a little bit of contraction in the opening and closing prices as we go up. Could there be a little spill out, couple small down days next to it? It very well could. And that would be a buying opportunity, in my opinion. And remember, we usually break out, and then sometimes we do a return move, and then we head higher. So I'm looking for a return move here. That's your buying point if you're still looking to enter the sector. Natural gas, basically sideways. We're also seeing a contraction in here with a wick at the top. So I think we're going to pull back a little bit before heading higher. Again, I think that is going to be the opportunity is if we get down in this range, I'm a buyer. I'm a big-time buyer in natural gas companies. And I'm waiting for that pullback. So it's looking good. I have entered in some of my companies already, and I like to sprinkle in, cost average in. It's a strategy that I have. When you get a certain percentage off the top here, you start to buy, and you cost average in that entire area. So that's the way that I play it. I'm not here to get the bottom of the bottom, because a lot of times you miss the bottom, but if you cost average in, you kind of hedge yourself. XOP, yeah, you know me, up 1.45%, looking quite strong. Remember, we've got a little bit of a rollover in oil and natural gas that could spill over to XOP, and maybe we have a couple down days or something like that. We are also coming up against this resistance area in this general vicinity here where we've traded a couple of times, and we've gotten a couple of resistance. And when I see that, I usually see kind of a loop or something like that, which you get kind of like a cup and handle pattern or something, or an inverted head and shoulders. That's how that pattern is developed. It comes up against resistance, you hit resistance, you kind of bounce back down, loop around, and then the buyers push it through. So that's what I'm seeing there. OIH, very similar. We're coming up to a little bit of resistance through here, the bottoms and tops of these guys. We got to break through that. We'll probably do a little loop before it if oil and natural gas do a little bit of a pullback. Completely normal. And I think that we're probably going to see that. It's just another buying opportunity in my mind to pick up some cheaper shares. Now, uranium's getting a little bit of a spill today. A little bit more selling pressure than the other markets. We're sideways on the futures pricing. We're down 0.21% in the futures pricing. That is not good, not bad, but just sideways. And maybe it went down more. Maybe this is a day delayed or something like that. Not too sure on how often they update this. But we are sideways there. Let me get to something else here. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, we are still below that resistance line we want to try to break out. We zoom in on it. We got a little bit of selling pressure today. It's not a reversal candlestick. It's just a down day, and it's a little bit on the larger side of the down day, but it's not a reversal candlestick. Low volume. We've got Uranium also down a little bit today. Again, we're still above support. It's not a reversal candlestick. It could just be a normal down day. And there could be, this could pull back, a little bit more before heading higher, but nothing to worry about yet, at least. CCJ, another down day, no reversal candlestick in this. We're just bouncing and moving around with some volatility. We're above support. Everything looks good from that perspective. Scrolling down to TAN also selling off. We're still above the breakout line. And right now, we're doing a retest move, a full retest move almost. We might have a little bit more left in it. COPX, the copper ETF, still looks good. Small selling pressure days. We filled this gap. We'll see if we can get a bounce here and move higher. I think it depends on the overall markets, depends on the sentiment. And the yields are definitely not helping the overall markets. But we're kind of just drifting sideways there. Still looks all right. The CRB to S&P 500 moving higher. That looks fantastic. I know that oil was strong, and this makes a big part of it is oil. But that's looking good. We've got rare earth metals. Now, this is a little bit more selly pressure. We do have a kind of more of a bearish engulfing type pattern here. We could head a little bit lower in the short term. Lit, which is a sideways day, still, it looks all right. I don't see anything. There's small little candlesticks opening and closing. Prices are very well balanced. This could go either direction, but I'm favoring it to the upside based off of this big gap and not much selling pressure. Looking at SPX, again, I still think this can go higher. The sellers aren't womping it here. There's no reversal candlestick. We've got nice big buying pressure. You get a little bit of a sell-off, and then you work your way up. We call it the bloody nose. NASDAQ Composite Index has the same thing as SPX, little bloody noses. It usually resolves upward. So that's good. And that correlates with, uranium. It correlates with a lot of these other sectors that look, they're just selling pressure days. They're not reversal candlesticks. EEM, we did have strong dollar today, but it didn't go down very much. So I still think this could head higher in the short term for emerging markets. It doesn't look too bad. XHB also getting the double bloody nose is what I call it. I think it can still move on higher. Lumber still getting some buying pressure, still looks good. Looks good there. Cocoa futures getting a little bit of more selling pressure. This could work its way lower. That is a bearish piercing where we opened up and then selling pressure came in and forced it lower, a reversal candlestick where we could head lower. Wheat is also getting a bearish engulfing. This is more than likely going to head lower. That's my take on that. Soybeans is heading lower. This one has a little bit of momentum that usually covered. Corn is also heading a little bit lower here. Nice little bearish engulfing. I think we're going to head lower in the short term. We've got copper getting that bearish engulfing as well, where we could head lower. So we've got a little bit of conflicting data. We've got the overall markets looking better. We've got yields going up. We've got stronger dollar. And we've got a couple of these in the soft commodities looking like they want to go lower. Same with copper here. Again, when I see this, just like this candlestick, I would say it's going to go lower. We've got almost a bearish engulfing here, here. You can see these guys, and that's where you get this little bit of a sell-off. How big is this thing going to be? That is unknown, and we'll have to see how much the selling pressure, the sellers come in and actually sell it off. So we want to see the size of the candlesticks and how much they sell that off. Mu is still holding together. Looks good there for a potential move on up. We've got aluminum moving sideways. That doesn't look too bad. And we're right above support. So I think that looks good. We'll call that the bloody nose of the day. And then Baltic Dry Index is rocketing higher off that support level. It was resistance, now support. I think the Baltic Dry Index is going to move on up. So that looks good. So looking at all this stuff today, oil still looks really good, but we could see a little bit of a pullback. We're starting to see a little bit of bearish engulfings in the soft commodities, in copper, so we could see those pull back in the short term. We'll have to see what the selling pressure does. The overall markets don't look too bad, but I mean, with yields going up, that's a big headwind, and the dollar going up. If the dollar keeps going up and rates keep going up, we'll see what happens with the overall markets. It could pull back. It's a strong headwind. But the actual setup in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, they don't look too bad. We've got big buying pressure, small selling pressure. Makes me think that that wants to go higher. So the thing holding it back is the dollar and the 10-year yield. That's what's holding this stuff down. Gold, silver, platinum look good to go higher. They want to go higher. What's holding it back is the dollar and the 10-year yield and the yields. And that's really what's going on in the markets right now. If you guys like this type of analysis, definitely give me a thumb up, subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to know how to play this future mix, definitely subscribe to the website, the Platinum membership, finding-value.com. You can see what my portfolio is. You can see what I'm loading up in. I did a midweek update just recently, yesterday. You can see the companies that I like. And that's all I've got for today. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.